Welcome back, everyone. Another episode of MockTales, the podcast where we have real, raw, and unfiltered conversations about life, struggles, and triumph. I have someone very special joining me today. Tia Potts and I go way back to our days working at TLC. We've shared laughs, late night talks, and yeah, even a few drinks together. But today, we're here to talk about something much deeper: her journey with addiction, the tough times, and the incredible strength it takes to turn things around. Tia, welcome to Mocktails. I'm so happy you're here. How are you feeling about being here tonight?
I'm good. I'm excited. I'm happy to be here, Dane.
Are you nervous?
I am.
Hey, that sounded very
Stepping out of the comfort
that
zone.
sounded very confident. So I was like, I wonder if she's still nervous. You nervous? So yeah, thank you for being on here. I'm very excited for your story. I can't wait for you to tell us about it. So let's take it back to the TLC days. We shared some fun times there.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Um, my favorite time was when we had that conference, and
Oh, yes, over in Cheyenne.
yes, at Little America. I don't know.
Yep.
It's a pretty popular place. I'm sure our viewers have heard of it. But what do you remember about that night?
I remember we had some drinks at the bar at the hotel, and then I think we went out with some people to eat dinner. I don't remember, not really, where we went and ate, but then we stopped at a bar off of it's like right where like the road where the mall's at with Kendall and a couple other people.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah,
we kind of just piled in his car, huh, and just like went to the beer store, liquor store,
yeah,
and
yep. And then so we got some packaged liquor and then went back to the hotel. And then you and I sat outside of my hotel room for a few hours, I think, just talking about life. And you really like opened up. Like it was like vulnerable Dane. It was wild. And it it meant a lot to me that you felt comfortable to be able to open up and talk to me about the things that you talked to me about. And I kind of felt honored in a way that you shared with me that you had just recently found out you were going to be a dad and you were nervous. I could tell you were scared.
yeah, I was uh I was very frightened. Um, I think I was most frightened because I was gonna be responsible of this little human being, and I didn't even know how to control my own self. You know what I mean? Like I was like, man, I need to settle down. Like if I can't take care of myself, how am I gonna take care of this little mini me? Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I remember that we were just sitting outside and I was like kind of looking at the stars, and it took me quite a while. Like we had a couple beers, and finally I was like, can I just talk to you about some stuff?
Yeah.
What do you but the way I was just like, what do you think about this stuff? What do you think about this? And I was trying to get like questions, and then finally I was like, I'm kind of scared too. Like I'm kind of nervous about I'm going to be a dad, and I need to slow down, slow my life down, and it was just a really really confusing time of my life. I knew I had to be a good dad, but I was like, how do I do that? So I guess that's when I first realized I kind of had a little bit of an issue. I was selfish. So that's when I realized I was selfish. That just I just had a realization right now. Like I realized how selfish I was, and it scared me that I had to just give up all my freedom. Um, I remember one specific moment when you opened up. Well, yeah, you opened up to me at work, and we were by the kitchen, and you were like, dude, I had way too much to drink last night, and you're like, I need to slow the fuck down. like that was exactly what you said, and we kind of laughed about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're like, dude, no. You're like, I'm serious. I was like, oh, okay, like.
I probably felt like death if I told you that, because like I usually kept shit like that to myself.
You
Ay,
said
ay, ay.
you were like, I was so tired today. um, but no, that I was gonna say the same thing. Like, it made me feel honored that you can just tell me that. Like, you were so comfortable around me that you were just like, dude, I got way too drunk last night. You're like, and I remember you're like, and it's a freaking Tuesday. That's
Yeah.
what you said. You're like, and it was a freaking Tuesday. You're like, why? And I was like, wow, she's that comfortable with me to where she could share that, and that made me feel good. Like that you could just come up to me and tell me that, and know that I wouldn't judge, or like go tell somebody. Um, so,
Mhm.
so but yeah, that was a really good moment for me. Like for me, but for you, I was like, oh damn, I'm sorry. Um, is that when you like? Is that when you like first started to realize, like, dude, I need to do something about this?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because I had started drinking periodically through the week during that time. It wasn't like every night or anything like that, but I felt like it was slowly kind of getting out of hand. And I remember I like made up my mind I'm not going to drink for a whole week. And I told you, like, Dan, I've gone 5 days without drinking. I was so excited about it. Like, 'cause it was a challenge sometimes, especially like having the liquor out. And I kind of kept it there on top of the fridge just to like, see how strong I was and test myself. Like, I
Yeah,
put it in the cupboard, maybe, but no. I went 5 days, maybe 6 days without drinking.
yeah. That. Oh man, I think at that time I was like, yeah, good for you, Tia. Like, because I wasn't even thinking about slowing down at all at that time. Like that 6 days was like, holy cow. um,
Yeah.
yeah. See, I was never a weekday drinker. Like, and then like me and my son's mom, we kind of split up for a little bit, and it was just me by myself. So on the weekends, I was just so bored. I would go out with my friends and do it, but I never thought about it during the week, and it just makes me realize how different this problem could be for people. Like it's not all the same for everyone. You know, just because I didn't drink during the weekday doesn't mean that I was less of a, alcoholic, I guess, or than the person that drank during the week. It just looks so different for people. I would just catch up on the weekend, like, like, oh, it's Friday, and then just boosh, 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 and just start pounding drinks. So I don't know. Do you see that? Like, I feel like if you talk about alcohol to somebody that's an alcoholic, they can't go by your system. It's like almost they could take little advice here and there, but they can't walk your path step for step. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, it does. I started out like social drinking. I didn't start drinking until I was 22. I didn't even drink since high school. I mean, I drank at a couple parties and nothing good ever happened. Like shit things would happen. And I didn't like alcohol. And my biological father was an alcoholic. My maternal grandfather and step grandma were alcoholics. And so I just really didn't have good experiences growing up around alcohol. And so I almost kind of like despised alcohol. And then I turned 22. I was in New York City on my 22nd birthday
Whoa.
and was out with the hair and makeup stylist and shit at a bar across from the hotel that I was doing this conference thing with and drank and realized, oh, this is like socially fun, like blah, blah, blah. So I came back and it just like I had fun drinking. I had fun partying. I was at the bar almost every night of the week. It was pretty ridiculous. I worked as a waitress at the time, so like my tips would go to alcohol. And I'm a sharer, so I'm always like buying everybody drinks and stuff. And so it started out with just having a good time and socializing and dancing a ton. And then I had my son Douglas and definitely slowed down with the drinking and partying and stuff after I had him. I really do think that he saved my life because I could have kind of taken a different path in life. So I do think that God gave me my son come and
Yeah.
save me. And then it kind of was still a social drinking thing. And then probably about the time that you started working at TLC, I had didn't realize it until probably recently that I actually was like starting to self medicate myself with alcohol. And that's why I started drinking during the weekdays. Because after I had my kids, I didn't really drink during the week. It was like the weekend thing, like getting together with friends or like family get togethers. And then it slowly, gradually started to be a couple nights a week. And by 2020, it got pretty bad.
Yeah.
We lost Douglas's dad. And I had a lot of guilt about how things happened. And for a long time, I like blamed myself. And it wasn't until after processing some stuff when I was in treatment that like I realized like it really wasn't my fault for him passing away. But I started drinking even more in 2020, plus COVID and all that crap's going on. And then over the next couple of years, like my mental health just declined. I started going to therapy, trying to get better. My depression and anxiety was horrible, and it just unhealthy relationships were a factor in things. I was self-medicating. I was not wanting to deal with life and my feelings. And got to the point where I wasn't social drinking anymore. I was drinking solely by myself every single night at home.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard this. I can't remember who said it. But I watched some shorts and stuff, and it has the algorithm, so I watch a lot of addiction stuff. And this guy, he said, it starts fun, then it turns into fun with problems, and then it just turns into problems. And that's
100%.
and that's how yours started out. Like you're in the Big
Yeah.
Apple, just and You're lucky I wasn't there because Madison Square Garden probably would have been on fire. But yeah, it kind of just trickled down to that, huh? And you just
Mhm.
start feeling horrible. Like
Yeah,
I, even if you didn't do like I don't know about you, but I didn't even do anything wrong most times. I'd wake up the next day just feeling guilty. I'm like, what am I feeling guilty about? I guess that's just the depressant in it. You know what I mean? Like they say alcohol is a depressant, so I'd wake
yeah,
up just feeling blue. Um, but yeah, it just trickles down in your story. Just kind of once you got to TLC, that's when it was like problems. Um,
Mhm.
is that the moment you said like enough is enough? Was when you started, after Douglas's dad and you
It was a
didn't.
couple of years. It wasn't until fall of 2020, 23, 2023 that I tried quitting on my own. I went 2 weeks without drinking. Um, and then got my feelings hurt because I'm a sensitive person and I got the buckets.
The
I was like,
bucket.
fuck it. Like, I'm doing all this work and it don't mean shit. Fuck it. I'm gonna go drink. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. So I'm gonna go drink. And that was stupid. But I went out with some friends and then continued to drink for a few more weeks and again realized like this is really a fucking problem. And I couldn't do it on my own. So I reached out to the Volunteers of America here in town, filled out paperwork, did an hour long like questionnaire survey thing on their computers up there, and then they sent me on my way. Somebody will be in contact with you. And so like a week goes by and I don't hear anything. And I'm like every day waiting for somebody to call me. Like I need some fucking help. Like
Yeah.
seriously, I need some help. And nothing for weeks. So this day, no one's called me. And I was so disappointed and just like hurt as well that I mean, I was 100% fully honest on all of the questions. And it's like one of the questions, like towards the end, is like rating from like 1 to 10 about like suicide. And I wasn't suicidal at the time or anything, but who's to say what if I was?
Yeah.
And they like are gonna reach back out to me, it just I don't know. So that really hurt. And so I really got the fuck it's like nobody gives a shit. I like actually reached out for help and they don't fucking care, you know? And so I downward spiraled even worse all the way until January of 2024 and had a confrontation, a fight, um, over something that I had valid reasons to be upset and hurt and angry, but there's no excuse for like I went and got drunk by myself, driving around, of course, real smart, to cool off because I didn't want to fight. I hate confrontation. I absolutely hate arguing. And so I drove around with a bottle of wine, called a couple people just to make sure that I wasn't like out of line and being crazy. And they had said I had valid reasons to be upset. And got home and ended up getting into an argument. Pretty, I lost my shit basically. Like I'm gonna be 100% honest. I was, I guess, beyond hurt, and I was extremely angry, and so I said some really mean, mean, hurtful things to this person because I was hurt, and I guess I said these things to hurt them back. Meantime, Douglas, 14 years old, is home, and all he hears is his mom losing his shit, saying horrible things. And he got in the middle of it. He was like, Mom, you need to stop. And I woke up that next morning, remembered pretty much everything I had said. I had apologized because I had told this person that I fucking hated them. And I didn't hate them. I love them very much. I hated how they made me feel. Hated how like they brought the worst out in me. It didn't help that I was drinking too, because it got to the point where I wasn't a happy person when I was drinking most of the time. Um, so I took Douglas to school and went to work and got on my phone and looked for a treatment facility. I was hoping for outpatient, but that didn't. That's not what was that was not, I guess, the direction that God wanted to take me. So
Yeah. Was it hard admitting you needed help? You know.
no, not at that point. I knew I needed help. I was basically like screaming for help in a way.
Mm-hmm.
The lady that answered the call to this, it said treatment facilities near you, but it was like a 800 number or whatever.
Yeah.
And needless to say, the internet's not always correct. It was not anywhere near me. This wonderful woman named Rachel answered the phone, and she had me share a little bit of my story and got my insurance information, scheduled a time during my lunch break to kind of do an interview and let me know what things were going to look like and where she could maybe get me into a treatment place. And needless to say, we had a great conversation. She related a lot to my story because she had gone through a lot of similar situations, being a single mom, being an alcoholic, and she knew right away outpatient wasn't going to work for me. Flat out, just like honest, it's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
And wanted to know why I wanted to be in Wyoming for like a rehab or something. And it was like, because I want to be able to see my kids. And I guess because of COVID, a lot of treatment facilities don't allow visitors still. I mean, this was last year, but, um, and also they're like institutionalized rehabs, most of them, anywhere around central United States. And she thought that she knew that a residential type facility would be better for me. Um, More like a home kind of environment. Um, and so I got put on a list to have a spot saved for me for profound treatment. It was a dual treatment facility, residential facility in Woodland Hills, California, outside of Los Angeles.
Hmm. Yeah. You definitely weren't having a hard time admitting you needed help. Yeah. You did it at work. You know,
Yeah.
like over your lunch hour. Like,
I did try and push it back though. They're like, we need you to get here as soon as possible. How soon can you get here? And this is like end of January. And I'm like, well, I can't come until May. Like my dad's birthday, my mom's
Super
birthday,
Bowl.
my youngest son's birthday. My son's struggling in school, so I can't come until he's done with the school year. And she's just like, honey, you can't keep pushing it back. And she, even from her experience, there were times that she had reached out for help and was going to go to treatment and then talked herself out of it. And horrible things took place because, oh, I'm doing good, I'll be fine. And then just shit happens, you know? And so she shared that with me. She said a lot of people, the longer they push it back, the more time they have to talk themselves out of it or convince themselves that they have it under control. And so they had me scheduled to fly out on February 11th of 2024.
February 11th.
Mhm.
Was that your last drink?
No, February 10th was no,
Oh.
February February 9th. Well, my sobriety date is February 10th. And I went to treatment on the 11th. I was like one of the very few, if any, sober people like showed up to treatment sober. Everybody else was like high off their asses on something or wasted.
Yeah.
I was sober, got on the plane sober, anxiety so bad.
Eating
It was so
peanuts.
scary. It was so scary.
Hey,
I
but
did eat some peanuts,
did on
the
the
honey
plane?
peanuts, honey roasted peanuts. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Hey, it's I don't want anybody to get confused. You're not a week or 12 days sober. Today's February 22nd, 2025. You got sober February 9th, 10th,
Very good.
2024. So congratulations on your 1 year and 12 days maybe of
Thank you, Dane.
sobriety. That is
Thank you very much.
that is so awesome. I remember when I went the year and it just felt so great. I'm sure you just have learned so much about yourself since then. I mean,
No,
there was times where I was going out to dinner by myself. People were thinking I was weird. I just go sit like I would sit at the bar even and just go watch sports and have dinner by myself.
I
And
took myself out to a movie for my 6 month
see, it's like a
by
thing.
myself.
Yeah.
People are like, you went by yourself? I'm so sorry you went by yourself. And I'm like, eh, it was
No.
fine.
Yeah. It's I think there's like a correlation with being sober and learning to do things by yourself.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you go I went to a movie by myself one time. Like I started doing things by myself. I went to dinner by myself. I like went to a movie by myself. I'd go to a coffee shop by myself, and I found myself enjoying it. So, and I learned so much during that time because I was like, I like being by myself. I like doing things by myself. Like,
I
but
used to really not like being alone.
oh
I mean,
really?
I've been in like serious relationship after serious relationship because I just don't want to be alone. And I
Mm-hmm.
got so much love to give someone, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm like, I'm not comfortable right now being alone.
Yeah. Heck
I
yeah.
am. I need to, I'm learning to love myself again and starting to see things, I guess, that other people see in me that I don't see or hadn't seen in myself. I do want to tell you though, Dane, that when you got sober, it was such an inspiration for me. I was like, fuck, if Dane can get sober, I can get sober. I couldn't. I couldn't do it on my own though. I had to go. I don't think I would be sober today if it wasn't for me completely removing myself from my whole life,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much, for 30 days and going to treatment. I don't know. And a continued program. I did a almost 6 months of intensive outpatient program through Zoom
Mm-hmm.
after I got home too. So
Yeah. Well, I'm
I am so
glad.
proud of you.
Hey, thank you. I'm so proud of you too. I think I told you that when we were actually you were doing insurance. Like we were setting you up for home insurance, and I was like,
Yep.
and before you left, I was like, Tia, I am so freaking proud of you. Like, oh, I had to just say it, and I'm glad that sobriety has a trickle down effect. You know what I mean? Like it really does. Like you're when they say actions speak more than words, like people feed off of your actions, and I was hoping that it would do that for somebody else. Like, hey, if I can do it, you know, they can too. But like you
Mhm.
said, you're like, I needed to go to a facility or a rehab to get it done. Whereas me, like I said, I I don't crave it. I just like to party, I guess. But so if I touch it, you never know what's gonna happen. So I just kind of stay away from it, you know. But I didn't need to go to rehab to to complete that. You know what I mean? I would just watch some of these videos. Like I would watch some Bradley Cooper talking about being sober, or Brad Pitt talking about being sober. Ben Affleck, you know, just male figures that were really working on it, and it pumped me up. I was like, you know what? Yeah, I don't need this stuff. Look at these guys. They're at their peak performance. You know, I want to be at my peak performance on everything I do. So, and that's where I was trying to get when I said everybody has their own way of getting sober. You know, and it was I've learned that, I guess, since doing this. Because I would give advice to people, and they're like, dude, I can't be around alcohol. And I was telling people, like, hey, I put myself around alcohol and just to sharpen my mental, state with it and try to learn how to be around it without just drinking. Um, that wouldn't have been a great idea. Like,
Mm-mm.
I was like, I'm not having a drink for a year. And that was like right after, I guess it was like December 31st or whatever. I went to a New Year's party the next day. Like, and just had waters and was hanging around, and my family was just having a good time. They're drinkers, you know. I mean,
That's amazing willpower.
like,
It really is, Dane. And
I,
determination for
yeah.
you to do that. That's awesome.
So when I tell people that, I'm like, take it with a grain of salt. Like, when I give you advice, because it might not work for you. But hey, you were on the plane to LA. What? Let's get back to this rehab trip, man. Like you just they bought your plane ticket, or what happened? How
No,
does that
they
work?
didn't. They didn't buy it. So I had to get things lined up with what I was going to do with my kids for the month that I was gone. Um, that was taken care of. My parents helped me out with Jason on the days that he was with me, and then his dad would have him on his days during the week and every other weekend. And then Douglas stayed at home with my boyfriend at the time. Um, so yeah, they told us not to buy a round trip. And I'm like, this is a 30-day treatment facility. Like, why? Like, what if they try and keep me out there?
Help me!
Thank God it was like a legit place, because I called a place before that one
Yeah.
and read reviews on it. And there were people that were concerned about some of their family members that had gone to this treatment facility, because they would take your cell phone and you couldn't be in contact with family for like weeks. And so that was a perk about this place is they did the first, I think, 24 or 48 hours that I was there, I could not have my phone. No one could call me. I couldn't call anyone, text, anything like that. But they did allow me to use the house cell phone to call my parents and my son and just kind of check in with them and everything. So that was nice. Um, the first week of treatment though is a complete blur. I don't remember hardly anything. Um, they so just future like a reference to anybody that if you do decide to go to treatment or get any medical assistance when trying to quit drinking, ask about the medications that they give you. Um, I did look up after talking to Dane about Ativan last night. I did look up the reason of Ativan,
Yeah.
which they give to everybody that comes into treatment for profound, anyways. And it's an anti-anxiety medication to kind of calm people's nerves.
Hmm.
For, I mean, you're completely out of your element going to rehab. Though it was like a beautiful home setting, it was a beautiful home. And but it's also for people that are coming or like quitting alcohol. It's basically like a detox drug in a way. Um, I wasn't told about the side effects though, so I did end up having short-term memory loss and I couldn't spell. But after that first week, um, I made some like lifelong friendships. And so each house for Profound had 6 clients. And I believe at the time we had 4 houses. There were only 5 of us for most of the time that I was there. And we became a family. Like we called ourselves the Jamila family. Like it was the Jamila house. They all had a house name. And we were really close and we still keep in touch with each other. Not as much as we'd like to, but it was just a really wonderful experience. And some of the staff were just phenomenal with how much they actually cared and just put into their work. So probably 95% of their employees, their staff for profound treatment are all recovering addicts, all of them. And so that was amazing too to have people that could relate
Hmm.
to other people's situations and stuff. And I had one of the program directors sat down with me at the kitchen table one afternoon and I was just writing in my notebook, supposed to be working on my goodbye letter to my addiction. And he sat down with me, and this man had already worked probably a 12-hour shift, and his house is an hour away. And he sat at that table and just had this heart to heart talk with me. A grown man, like crying, telling me, sharing his story with me. And he did one thing that he said that has stuck with me and that I remind myself of is that feelings are one of the leading causes of relapse for people to drink. And I 100% agree with that because that's why I drank so much is to drown my feelings and problems. And it was really moving that he could have gotten in his car and drove home. You know, I'm sure he was tired as hell, but instead he sat there and had an amazing conversation with me. And then I learned some things about myself while I was out there too. But you had said something in the beginning of our talk here, Dane, about realizing that like drinking was selfish or like things like that. And I realized I felt like I was a selfless person, you know, but I found out that being an alcoholic, I was selfish. And I found out, I realized that I had serious anger, deep down anger, and so many resentments built up. And one of my favorite um facilitators every morning, he was the one that would wake all of us up and do our morning groups. But he said Re- resentments, having resentment is like drinking poison, hoping that the other person gets sick. And I was like, holy shit. And I did realize I was stuck in this like anger cycle, and then like more anger cycles just building up. It was awful. And so learned a lot about myself while I was out there.
How you said you like keep in contact with the your housemates? Is that what
Hmm.
housemates?
Yeah.
How are they doing? Are they still on a roll like you? Sober?
Um, Unfortunately, I think only two of us are still sober. Possibly three, but and it's crazy. You never know like what's gonna happen with people and their recovery journey. One of my housemates, I was for sure like he had it. He he had it and like he was gonna be all right and life was gonna be good. His future was gonna be bright. I made him a rock. I found a rock and I painted it and put abundant life on it and gave it to him. That was like my goodbye token. And I really believe that he can have an abundant life. He just sadly relapsed and is kind of stuck, I think. That's why I won't allow myself to relapse because I'm not going to be one of the, I know myself well enough that I'm not going to be one that can just, all right, I fucked up. Let's get back on the wagon. I, I would have too much shame and guilt and anger towards myself that I think I would
Yeah.
kind of let it get out of control again.
I think
I
that
ain't going there.
you ain't going there. Don't knock on the
No
door, bro.
way.
Stay away, bro. I think that's very important, man, is to have grace for yourself. And I really do. Um I ain't gonna lie, man. I have beers here and there. Like 4 months will go by, I'll have a beer or two, and I'm like, oh crap, there goes the streak. But it would crush some people
Mm,
to relapse and then just say, I'm a failure. I might as well keep going, you know? And I want people
yeah,
to know is like, because people do relapse. And if you're somebody who has relapsed and you're watching this and you're having a hard time stopping again, don't be so hard on yourself. You know, you messed up. So what? Get back on the wagon and start all over. I mean, don't count your days. I think that gets people. It's like, oh my
yeah,
gosh, I was up 200 days strong and I relapsed. Now I got to go back to one. I'm just going to give up. It's like, no, man. Say you're 200 days still. Like, you had one beer. Like, 201 tomorrow. Screw it. Nobody has to know. No, but I just think. I just think people are so hard on themselves, and it ends up
Yeah.
ruining them. There's your feelings thing. They get so caught up in their feelings, and they just say, "Screw it, I'm gonna keep going. I already failed." It's like, no, you
Yeah.
you did not fail. So I just want people to know that, and I'm sure somebody who is relapsed is going to watch this, and I want them to know, no, you are not a failure. Keep going. It's not. Don't blow it up into some big thing. Like, move on and keep going. I guess I don't know, but that's easier said than done. Um, but I don't think enough people say that. It's
Yeah.
like none at all. You stick to it, and if you have a drink, you're done. Like you you might as well give up. You have a problem, man.
Yeah. Don't give up.
Yes,
Don't give up.
keep going. Even if you had a sip, don't feel too guilty about it. Have forgiveness for yourself. Talking about that whole process, like we said, you go 200 days or whatever. That's a recovery process. What, I guess, while you're at rehab during your recovery process, what was the toughest part?
Being in rehab, the toughest part
Yeah,
about
yeah,
being
yeah. What was the toughest part about the whole recovery?
there. Having to probably start feeling my feeling and facing some hard truths about my life and about people that I loved and even things about myself.
Yeah,
That part, and then also being away from my kids.
you're just in LA. Like, you just got on a plane, took off.
I,
That
I I crack jokes out there. I've always wanted to come to LA. I didn't think it would be rehab that would bring me to LA or like to California, not necessarily LA, but I
yeah.
didn't even get to see the damn ocean while I was there.
Oh,
Still haven't seen the ocean.
oh man.
Oh well.
Yeah, I think of, like, when I heard that you were going to rehab and it was in California. I don't know if you ever remember those, like, Malibu, like, that commercial, and they would advertise the Malibu Rehabilitation Center,
Mm-mm.
and it was all elegant, and, like, they'd like walk like a curtain, they'd open the curtain, and all of a sudden the ocean's like right there, and they're like looking around, and it was nothing like that.
There was no beachside,
Oh,
nothing. We had a swimming pool in the backyard, but it wasn't heated and it was shaded by trees. And it was in March in California. It was freaking frigidly cold. But we did some cold plunges a few times.
oh, I you know it's funny.
It was pretty good.
I went to start my truck the other day, and it made me think of like how miserable a cold plunge would be, because
They're actually amazing.
really.
Yeah. That like instant shock to your body. Yeah, it's there were well, I think the last time I did 3 cold plunges while I was there. The last one, I needed it. Like, I told my roommates, I said, we came back from a group session with another house, and I was heated about one of I was heated about my therapist.
Uh,
not really being available. Like we were supposed to see them a certain amount of times a week, and I had only seen her 2 times in 3 weeks.
wow.
But anyways, I needed an attitude adjustment, is what I was telling my roommate, like my housemates. I was like, I need an attitude adjustment. Who's cold plunging with me? And it was not nice that day. I think it had like drizzled raining most of the morning. It was overcast. It was chilly. And the thought of getting into an ice cold freaking pool, but you know, we were there with each other through thick and thin, as we would say, and so they
Yes.
cold plunged with me,
Teamwork, and
and it changed
bonding.
my attitude.
There you
Yeah, the
go.
bonding
The
was
the
great.
bonding, you need a community, and I hope that we can create something like that with this podcast.
I hope so.
What like hold on, I gotta do something real quick. These things, okay, talk about these things. I have a harder time giving these up. You ever heard of Zens?
Yes, Kason's been trying to get me to use Zans and to quit smoking cigarettes.
Hey, there you go. I know people who've done that. They quit smoking, even vaping, by popping in a Frank Sinatra.
I have you brought up Frank Sinatra. One of the houses was called Pinfield House,
What?
and it used to be Frank Sinatra's house many, many years ago. One of the
No.
houses in treatment. That's where we would all meet for our Tuesday night alumni AA meetings. They would have a speaker come, and yeah, it was a cool place. Like Marilyn Monroe hung out in that house.
What?
Yeah, you can Google it.
I
Pinfield House.
Pinfield.
Yeah, I guess they also made some adult films in that house as well before Profound took
Wow.
it over.
Well, since that's crazy. Yeah, just Frank Sinatra, and you had that
Hmm.
fact. That's cool. I'm glad you got to
Yeah,
share that. Um, so you did a month at rehab, or
mhm.
okay, so you did a month at rehab. That seems like a short time for to just throw you out, man. So props to
Yeah.
you.
They wanted me to stay and do like a sober living out there. They're like, we don't think that you're ready to go back home yet. And I'm like, I can't stay out here in California. Like, I have kids, I have a job, like I have a life I need to get back to. And so they were able to get me hooked up with the IOP program through Desert Bloom, which is another rehabilitation place in California.
Hmm. So finding support here, I'm sure you've done that. I'm sure you
Mhm.
found meetings and stuff like that to help with triggers and stuff like that. Because around here, our to our viewers, there is nothing but bars. There's going home or going to a bar. I'm sorry, we don't even have a bowling alley. Like we have nothing here, and
Oh,
you have to have a group or a community gathering or something like that. Where do you go for that here?
I found Celebrate Recovery here in town. It was actually in the back of one of those papers that you find in your mailbox on like the back page. And I was so happy that I had found that because I was doing my online IOPs and I was doing online through the Alcoholics Anonymous app. You can find meetings across the globe, literally,
Really?
and Zoom meetings. Yeah.
What?
And so yeah, they have it for, okay. Also, they have Narcotics Anonymous. It's a Narcotics Anonymous app. And I know that the AA one, you can keep track of your sobriety date, like you put that in. It has a gratitude list where you can put in things that you're grateful for, like do a gratitude list each day. It has a something out of the AA book each morning, and then it has where you can click on and shows you like hundreds of Zoom meetings throughout the world.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I was hopping on those a couple nights a week. And I was meeting like in person, you know, because I was doing my therapy, IOP stuff through Zoom. And I needed that fellowship, like in person fellowship. So I came across the Celebrate Recovery. And at the time it was at Journey Church. And it was wonderful. Like, very small group. And they were so welcoming and wonderful. And I mean, I was nervous as hell going. I mean, everybody's got that nervous part about like stepping through that door or doing like stepping out of your comfort zone, you know. I'm so glad that I did. And I try my best to not miss a meeting. We meet every Tuesday night. Uh, we have now moved to Sunrise Church. When we were at Journey Church, I think we had maybe 7 people. And now I think we've had probably 20 at one evening,
Wow.
but pretty consistent people that have been coming. We have probably 10 or 12 women and about 6 to 8 men that are coming.
Hmm.
And it's been wonderful. Like, it's for, it's like a faith-based recovery program. And it's for anybody that has hurts, habits, or hangups, which, you know, damn near everybody has something
Yep.
like that. I initially started going just to have like a support system in place for me to continue my sobriety. So I was going for like my habit, my bad habit. And then realized I had some hangups. I had, yeah, so I started working through some of that, and now I'm kind of focusing on trying to recover from my hurts. So anybody is welcome. If you're around the Torrington area, Tuesdays at Sunrise Church from 6 to 8, and um, and if you're not in Torrington area, you can just do celebraterecovery.com, and you should be able to find some places in your community.
I think I know the person that started that at the Journey Church. And his
Okay.
story is just I could relate to him. When he told me everything, I was like, dude, that's me. Like I just the his name starts with an M.
Yes.
Yeah. He just a genuine person. You
Yeah.
know, you would never know or known that he had them type of experiences. Let me just say
Yeah.
that. And I guess if you look at us, and if we go long enough, like him, she's gone a long time, you wouldn't be able to tell, or you wouldn't even be able to point out that we had some of those bad experiences, like you just shared, or some that I haven't shared yet. Um,
Mhm.
I think it was me and you talking, and I was like, I would just want to see, like, if we could see people, like, if they had a bubble over them and everybody would have an issue. Like you said, we all have that. Um,
Everybody's struggling with something.
mm-hmm,
Everyone.
yes.
And some people are struggling with a lot more heavier stuff than
Mm-hmm,
other people. But even in just since I've gotten sober and going to church and going to celebrate recovery, like everybody is struggling with something. And there's a lot of people that are hurting and
mm,
that's heartbreaking.
yeah. And I don't know, do you feel like once you go to church or you start being sober, do you ever feel like people look at you and say, she thinks she's so good?
Oh yeah.
It's like, no,
Yeah.
that is the opposite of what we are. Like,
Yeah.
because I go to church too. Like, I go to church and I want to be sober. And I feel like people are like, who does he think he is? You know, but I
Mhm.
want to just tell him, like, I am beneath you. You know, like, I do not think I'm better than anybody. We are not perfect. Just because
No, nobody's perfect.
just because we're trying to be sober, or go to church, like we are doing that because we are so unperfect.
I am just trying to be a better child of God, and I'm trying to be the best me that I can be. And I have a shit ton of work to do still. A ton. I'm I don't know that I'm even gonna ever get close to being 100% of what God intended me for me to be.
Mm,
I don't think I'm better than anybody. All I know is that I am better myself than I was a year ago.
yeah,
And I'm continuing to work on myself and my relationship with God. I mean, He's done some amazing things in my life in this last year.
man. When you get closer to God, you can definitely feel it. It's no joke. And then once you start learning about the
Mhm.
Bible, just the words in there, like the grace that He has. How can you not turn your back on this? Like, or how can you know what I mean? Like, He just still welcomes you with open arms, even if you did give him the middle finger, or you just said, I don't
Mhm.
need you, or I'm going to do my own thing. You definitely, it's either all in, or you can't have one foot in the world and then be like, oh, I'm trying to
Yeah.
be his friend as well. But you hit it right on the head. It's a relationship. I talk to him every day, every night before I go to bed, and you're right. I tell him sometimes I am not worthy. But I guess that's the sacrifice. That's why Jesus did what he did, so we could be worthy no matter what and become saved. Amen.
Yeah.
Um, what advice would you give to someone who wants to support a loved one battling addiction? I mean, that's a big question I get all the time.
Oh, definitely let them know that you love them. And I think it's important that people that are struggling with addictions under, understand that people love them even though they have some problems going on. And I think maybe people should be more open to listening and talking to people. Be be as supportive as you can be
Yeah.
and loving.
I feel like the lecturing really does the most damage. I think, you know, doing it, you're right. You can do it in a loving way,
Mhm.
not like I'm trying to think of like a time. Dan, you need to get your head out of your ass. What are you doing? You need to really quit drinking this. You need to quit partying all the time. It's ruining your life. It's like, you know what? Screw you, man. I'm gonna go do it some more then. Like,
Mhm.
you,
Yeah.
you just want to
Yeah.
rebel when you get that lecture.
Yep.
So
That's yeah.
I think it's the less lecture, more love for me. So I like that. I
I
like how you
think
said it.
definite I think definitely more love because just from my experience and knowing some other people, uh, when you're in that addiction, like you feel so alone. Um, you're already hard enough on yourself.
Mm,
You know, you might not say it out loud. You might not share it with other people, but you can harden up on yourself. The last thing you need is somebody chewing your ass out or being mean and angry about it. Like, yeah, just gotta address it with love if you can.
yeah.
Compassion, compassion.
And I think that's where you like those AA meetings, they're like, you felt so welcomed and they're just like, let's talk about what's happening with you. So yeah.
Mhm.
So what's next for you in this journey?
Well, I'm gonna continue to be a part of Celebrate Recovery. Keep working on myself. Keep working on building my relationship with God. And I'm planning on going back to school. I think I'm gonna start with some summer classes and then do spring, go on from then, see where it takes me. You know,
Heck, heck, heck yeah.
I've been letting God take the wheel of my life, as you would say. And it's been pretty damn great. It
Yeah.
really has been great. And I just I get nervous now, like, okay, like I'm I'm learning patience, I guess you would call it. But then at the same time I'm like, okay, I need to like get some education going so that I can get like my future goals going. They're not gonna happen if I don't go back to school, I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's the stuff that we've gone through. You can use to help yourself. Look at this podcast. Like my bad experiences, your your um, issue with alcohol and your alcoholism made you want to become something because of it. Made me do something because of it.
Mhm.
Like you can still use just because you had a bad past doesn't mean you can't be successful. You know, I feel like and it's sad, not everybody gets out of the habit. And that's just and doesn't realize that they can use their past to build their future. Um, it's
That's
hard.
one thing I love about people's testimonies
Mm-hmm.
and people's like in AA or NA meetings. They have speaker meetings sometimes, and that's basically like the speaker sharing their testimony, and they are just so moving
Mm-hmm.
that exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, we can use our experience to help somebody. We can use our bad experiences to help ourselves. I mean, it shapes you. It really does. And but like I said, the sad part is not everybody comes to that realization. And I hope. I even hate talking about it because I know so many people where they just didn't make it. It took them out young, and we have another chance. It's the last call for a fresh start. And we can really use our past to do something better with our lives. It doesn't have to be all everything was a mistake. No, those things led us here, Tia. You know what I mean? It led you to your calling. Now you know what you want to be. Now you know what you want to do. And I think God puts us through those things to realize that. To, gosh, I even hate, when I pray, I'm like, God, give me wisdom. And I'm like, oh, wait. Like, because I remember when I'd always pray for wisdom, I'd go through something.
Mm,
And I'd be like, man, why do I always have to just go through this crap? And then I come out of it at the very end. I'm like, man, I learned something.
yeah.
It led me to this right here. It's crazy. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch what I pray for because I don't want to go through anything right now, God. Like, please, I'm happy right now. I'm on the right path. If I ask for any more wisdom, please let it be something like not traumatic. I don't know if you think that, or is that the first time you've ever heard of that?
Oh no,
Oh.
I can really relate to you on that big time. I my motto these days is the serenity prayer. Like I don't even know that I was living my daily life basically by the serenity prayer. I don't even know the word like all the words to the serenity prayer at first. Like I would say it along with like AA groups and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I did. I found myself living the serenity prayer, like God granting like the acceptance
Yeah.
to have the courage to accept the things I cannot change.
Yep. That's exactly it. We have so much wisdom. It's just a different wisdom compared to a doctor.
Mhm.
Like, this is real life stuff here that we had to crawl through some glass to get to, and it feels great being where I'm. Like, it was. I think I told you yesterday. I was like, if somebody asked me to do it over again, or if I could do it over again, I could not. I don't think I could. I would just if I started at 16 years old and I still knew what happened prior till when I was 30 till up to when I was 36. I think my 16-year-old self would be like, just end it now. Like, I am. I do not want to go through all of that stuff again. That's how much pain we go through. I think just in there as for everyone. But Tia, thank you for your story. Thank you for sharing, and being so open and honest, with me today. Um, like I said, I'm so proud of you. So,
Thanks. And thanks for having me on here.
yeah, yeah, it was an honor. I seriously, I messaged you and you didn't respond. I'm not gonna lie. kind of sad.
I didn't respond for like a week. I'm so sorry about that.
I was like,
I was
oh,
actually talking to a friend of mine and I was like, I told Dane I was interested, and then Dane messaged me and I was like, I don't have quite a year yet. Like, I don't feel like credible to be talking about my story yet.
yeah.
So that was part of it. I apologize.
No, no worries at all. And for you guys that are watching and you think you want to be on here, it's for people who are even thinking about stopping. You could be in the middle of it right now, and if you want to share your story and say that you need help and you're wanting to get in control of your life, you're more than welcome on here as well. You don't have to be sober for an X amount of times. You could be in the middle of it, and we can talk about what you're going through. Um, if you have any, and maybe we can help. Maybe I'll have some words of wisdom. But like I said, take my advice with a grain of salt because it doesn't work for everyone. Um, and I hope that's what this creates, Tia, is like an Avengers of just strategies and coping mechanisms that people can combine, and we can just
Yeah.
that can just dominate and start using and picking off of you, picking off of me, picking off of Curran, picking off of Lazarus, and build this little blueprint for them. Um, so, all right, well, yeah. If you guys please leave your comments if you want any type of Q&A with me and Curran. Um, ask us anything and we'll talk about it. Maybe I can get Tia on here too, and we can talk about a situation if it relates to you as well. And if you'd be open for that, be awesome. Um, but like and subscribe. Thank you again for watching. Happy Saturday, Tia.
It's Saturday.
Let's enjoy our night in our house, safe, not in jail.
True.
Not in jail. Not getting
And
in
not
any.
waking up
Not waking up
with hangovers.
hungover. Not getting in any fights at the bar. Throwing bar stools. I think I
Are you a
was.
bar stool thrower?
No, but there was a couple times where people. It wasn't even my fight, and I was just like,
Oh, I can see you doing that.
yeah! Come on!
Oh,
All right, Tia. Well, you have a great rest of your night, and
you too, dang.
we'll see you around, okay?